Did you hear about what happened with McAfee? John McAfee?
Yeah, that was, I saw it come out live last night on Bloomberg.
Can you put up his tweet? So I interviewed the guy. I don't know. Do we have a video of what happened when I interviewed the guy or no?
Not readily available.
If you can find it. So I interviewed John in 2016. I go to his place when I'm interviewing the guy. You know, you've heard the story.
We've heard the story, but yeah, let's read.
Yeah, I mean, he is like, you know, your cell phone is built to spy on you. The cell phone is built to spy on everything you're doing. That's why I don't use the regular cell phone that everybody else uses. While I'm doing the interview, in the middle of the interview, a guy knocks on the door. Kai, if you just kind of go through it, is it? Just click on it, see where it is. I mean, somebody just fast forward a little bit to see. You should see what happens. I think it's 43 minutes. I think you're ahead of it. Go back, go back, go back, go back, go back. Okay, so can you do me a favor? Put your finger on the, put the mouse on that and go. There you go. Go back a little bit, right there. Click on it and get the audio. Audio.
And I know the routes that people take. If I were to get to Ecuador from Hong Kong, the last country in the world I'd go through is Russia. You've got 50 different options.
By the way, look at the gun on this.
From Hong Kong
He's ready.
Why the heck
He's got a drink.
is he going
He's smoking cigarettes.
Russia. So, I, you know, it's hard for me to say, is it good? Is it bad? I don't have all the facts, and neither do you.
And pause it. So, extremely paranoid guy. Obviously, that happens in every interview. Danielle always takes a gun out, you know, somebody knocks on the door. But the guy was so paranoid.
You know, us Texans.
First time ever I went to an interview where the guy who greets me, he says, "Hey, Patrick, thank you for coming out. Just so you know, we got 5 prostitutes upstairs if you want to go before you start the interview." I'm like, you know what? Thank you for the offer. I appreciate that.
It's mighty generous of you.
You know, yeah, you know, hey, you know, I'm like, if you want to ask the guys,
smile, happy ending.
Mario and Luis were over there. I'm like, you know, maybe you ask Mario and Luis, and they're like, no, we're okay. Thank you for your hospitality. And there's like M16s, AK-47s, guns literally sitting everywhere. Like something's up with this.
He's like a Scarface type of antivirus software guru.
Right, but
extremely paranoid.
When we get so inside the weeds and find out how, to the extent to which we're being spied on, it's going to freak you out. I mean, I won't even get in a Volvo anymore. I'm like, oh, no. Not
Why
Volvo? It's like really, the Chinese own it. I don't want to be like, I don't want to know that I'm being spied on.
You have to realize who this guy worked for. I mean, McAfee, before starting McAfee, he was like a genius working at, what is it, Kleiner Perk? Which one was it he was working at? Kai, do you remember where he was working at? He was working at some, McAfee was an employee as a programmer by NASA's Institute for Space Studies from 68 to 70 for the Apollo program. And then from there, he went to UNIVAC as a software designer and later to Xerox as an operating system architect. In 78, he joined Computer Science Corporation as a software consultant. He worked for consulting for Booz Allen Hamilton, which you know who worked for Booz Allen Hamilton, from 80 to 82. And then from 80, while employed at Lockheed, McAfee received a copy of Brain, the first computer virus for the PC, and began developing software to combat viruses. And then it becomes what it is. He sells it for $100 million. It's now worth $10, $20 billion. He sold only for $100 million. Yep. And then he sends this tweet. Put this tweet up. Put this tweet up. He sends this tweet. In the tweet, he says this. This is November 30th, 2019. It says, getting subtle messages from U.S. officials saying, in effect, we're coming for you, McAfee. We're going to kill yourself, obviously kill you. I got a tattoo today just in case. If I suicide myself, I didn't. I was whacked. Check my right arm. Boom. I mean, this is just a little bit weird when you see some of this stuff. You know, this is not a conspiracy theory. You know, this is just, here's a guy that's saying, I would never take my life. He sends a tweet right before. Go back to his last recent tweets. He sends a tweet prior to that. Go up a little bit, June 16. Let me see what says June 16. The U.S. believes I have a hidden crypto. I wish I did, but it has dissolved through the hands of many. Team McAfee. Your belief is not required. My remaining assets are all seized. My friends evaporated through fear of association. I have nothing. Yet I regret nothing. Keep going up. Happy Father's Day. Great. What does he say?
I have nothing.
In a democracy, power is given, not taken, but it is still power. Love, compassion, caring here have to no use for it, but it is fuel for greed, hostility, jealousy. All power corrupts. Take care which powers you allow democracy to wield. Look, it's a little strange. It's a little strange for him to.
What's his
But
video
along the
right
lines of the subject of censorship, I mean, he could be right here with us talking about it if he wasn't not with us anymore.
Exactly. So I don't know. Look, I get the idea of trying to, like, when you're a parent and you're raising kids, you want to have the right influence on your kids. And sometimes you will, as a parent, try to keep a kid away from your, what do you call it, your kid, because
Sure.
God forbid, maybe a bad habit's come, maybe a cousin who's an addict, and you're like, listen, we don't want to go party and hang out with that kid because I don't want my kid to pick up bad habits. But there is that, and then there is, you can't watch that. You can't watch this. You can't read this. You can't do that. I mean, it's like, come on, buddy. It's getting a little too much right now to be able to give an opposing argument.
And then you wonder why you wake up 10 years later and you're like, why is my kid so rebellious?
Yeah. You know who I love to interview? I love to interview people who completely disagree with me. I love interviewing people who completely disagree with me.
Well, did he agree or disagree?
He was all over the place. By the way, a lot of the stuff that he said in the interview came true. A lot of the stuff on what he said about Facebook, and that was in 16.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that he said came true. At the time, people would have called him cuckoo, conspiracy theorists, but a lot of the stuff that he said came true.
Such as what?
I mean, you know, the fact that keep your eyes, this whole model of ads and what Facebook, they're doing, they're reading you, they're studying you. All they're trying to do is
all the analytics,
take
all
the
the
systems, they're
overseeing.
given to the government. That's how it's being
Have you
used.
guys seen that commercial? It is so powerful, that
Which
Apple
one?
commercial, where the guy ends up, you know, in his apartment with a
That's
zillion
a
people.
and then boom,
and then he
boom,
hits,
poof, they disappear.
And then he hits the privacy act.
Yes.
He's like, you can't follow me anymore.
That is a powerful commercial. You're right.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
started to take the extra few seconds to say, you know, I'm on a website looking for information. I'm always doing data research, always writing. Do you accept all cookies? And I've started taking the time to go, no, I don't. So-
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, Pat, since you've literally sat down with this guy McAfee,
Yeah.
and he's, let's just say, had some ups and downs in his life, but over the last
By
5
the way,
years,
let's qualify him. He's a very weird guy.
Totally,
That has
clearly.
to be
Yeah.
qualified. This is not he's a very, very weird
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah, but he's obviously a genius.
He's a genius, but extremely weird.
Many geniuses are eccentric.
Do you know why he married his wife? Have you heard him tell the
no.
story why he married his wife?
No, but was that with or without the prostitutes?
The prostitute. The wife was a prostitute. Do you know why he married his wife?
No.
He said he gave the best.
Oh.
Yeah. So he's like, okay, that because of that I decided, and that's what he says in the documentary. So we have to know that this is a very, very strange guy. But go ahead.
No, here's my question to you. Over the last, I'm not talking about all the great things he did in his 30s and 40s and the genius. I'm talking about when there's smoke, there's fire. Just look at his resume over the last 5 years or so, since you've done this interview, right? So, number one, he died in a Spanish jail in Spain, your old stomping grounds, where he was extradited to face federal charges. So, number one, he wasn't even in America. I think when you interviewed him, where was he even living at that point?
Nashville, Tennessee. 2 hours outside of Nashville,
But wasn't he living
Tennessee.
in South America at
He
some
wa-
point?
he was all over the
He was
place.
all over the
Yeah.
place. He skipped paying taxes, apparently from 2014 to 2018, so 7 years ago. He was involved in this pump and dump scheme with crypto that only made him a couple $1 million. When you're worth over $100 million and now you're trying to like do a pump and dump scheme
Well,
to
he
make a
was
couple
worth
million
$100
bucks.
million.
Yeah,
He
I was
Exactly.
was
gonna say,
worth.
if
So-
When you were there, worth $100 million, if not more, and now you're scheming and plotting to make a couple million.
Yeah.
That's a telltale sign, like things aren't working out
It's
so
not.
good for
No,
you.
financially,
bro.
he's not.
Like, you're
Paranoia is
trying-
not cheap.
So-
Paranoid is not a cheap lifestyle. If you're
totally-
everywhere and if you've got bodyguards around you and all this ammunition.
To the
and all
points of schizo. He's a little bit
Yeah.
on that side.
So my
He's
question is, are you surprised by this? It's obviously unfortunate.
surprised
it's sad.
that he tweets, I would never whack
surprised
myself.
that he's at age 75 found dead of suicide. in
I'm
a Spanish
surprised
jail.
by that. I'm surprised by that because, you know, if you were ever going to take your life, you've done so much drugs that at any point you could have. When you're on drugs, you don't think reasonably. You're like, okay, it's not worth it. So he's had plenty of chances to take his own life. He
But
hasn't
now
taken
he's
it.
in jail. Has he ever been in jail
Yeah,
before
he
like
got
this?
arrested one time because he was accused of killing his neighbor for feeding his
Right,
dogs
the
with
dog
poison,
story,
and
right.
his dog died, and he found his dog dead in the back because
Yeah.
the dog would bark. And a neighbor who retired was a millionaire, so dude, I just want to retire. And he throws the meat over his dog, eats it, dies. He comes and kills the guy. So McAfee ends up running. They're chasing him. They get so he's done.
That's
some,
when he was in South America.
Yeah,
all that time.
he's had some.
Here, look. Rest in peace, John McAfee. I think whether you want to take the good, the bad, the ugly, he was an eccentric character that definitely influenced a lot of people, and it's just a sad ending to a pretty, inspiring entrepreneur type story, just with a very sad end.
So if you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here's another short segment to watch. Or if you want to see the entire podcast, click over here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.